every discipline has its own set of jargon, of terminology that people throw around expecting everyone else to understand. Okay? In English, in writing, one of those words is rhetoric. And you've probably have a general idea of what it means, or you've heard it in phrases like a rhetorical question, where you're actually kind of giving a speech, making a point, not really asking a question, trying to elicit answers. Let me give you a new definition. Here's as simple as I can go, as I can make it. Rhetoric, well, it's the art of communication, and the point that it makes is it's not what you say, it's how you say it. And it is so important. For example, Chip Ward was speaking at Utah Valley University's first ever Writing for Social Change conference, and in a little writing seminar he gave in the morning, he pointed out that a lot of scientists have really important things to say, but they write them, they're so steeped in academic writing, he says, and academic writing can be really bad that it's completely ineffective and they can't get the word out. So if these people could take their wonderful information and present it in a way where it's accessible to people, think of TED.com. If you haven't been there already, TED.com, go there and watch some of their presentations. Very, very accessible, very enjoyable and interesting. Okay, great information based on research usually, and presented in a way that really works. Okay, really good rhetoric. Now the whole concept of rhetoric, of course, was invented back in ancient Athens, where they had the Senate and this a true democracy. Citizens would take turns being in the forum, and they'd give their impassioned speech and try and pass laws and be very persuasive. And they figured out that there were three aspects of a presentation, in that case a speech, but it applies perfectly to writing as well. And if the presenter, if the author, or the speaker could really nail those three aspects really well, then that would be a very effective speech, or as effective as it could be. The first one, logos, sounds like logic, right? And that is related to the content, the ideas, the message itself. You know, does it make sense? Is it well developed? Is it, I guess, organized, structured in a way that's helpful to make it make sense? Does it use good evidence and good warrants? Does it maybe use examples even, you know, to concrete things to help convey the abstractions you're talking about to make it effective? In other words, does the idea get through? Okay, that's all falls under logos. Next one, pathos. It sounds like it sounds like pathetic and other roots of words that have to do with emotions. So this is the emotional appeal. This is kind of like the focus on, instead of the message with logos, it's like putting the focus on the audience, on the reader, on the listener. How are they going to respond to the message? Are you going to bore them out of their minds? That's bad pathos, unless for some reason you want to bore them. Or are you going to get their interest? Are you going to make them care? Are you going to show why it's important to them, add some significance to it? Are you going to motivate them to action, or at least, you know, get them to listen to you and keep it interesting? Okay, that would be good pathos or pathos. Of course, you can't always make it totally fascinating. That sometimes, if it's really interesting, that can actually be bad, because if you're in a situation on the very formal, closed form end of the writing spectrum, where people expect to have just dry, you know, just the facts, right? You know, this fun, interesting stuff, right? And you start loading it up with descriptive passages and poetry and personal experiences and stuff. In that situation, they're going to say that's too touchy-feely or too emotional or something, right? And that can hurt you. Also, if you're relying just on emotions and to the detriment of your logos, you know, where you're just saying how bad you wanted it, you know, you can commit all kinds of logical fallacies, you know, like appeal to emotion, ad misericordiam, and I guess that's bad logic as well. But in other words, don't just try and rely on the pathos. And the third one is ethos, or ethos, I guess. And this is related, instead of about the message, instead of about the the audience. This is about the speaker or the author. And one of the most important aspects of ethos, and the one that most people focus on exclusively, is credibility. Are you credible? Do you know what you're talking about? Are you being fair and balanced and not biased? Are you giving good references? Have you done your homework? Do you correct your spelling enough, to not diminish your credibility? But ethos really goes far beyond that as well. The way I like to say it is, as someone reads your paper or listens to your message, what impression do they get about you, the author or the presenter? Because all of those things come into play. If they find out that you have a PhD in your topic, that can help, right? That can help credibility. If they find out that you're a racist jerk, I don't care what you're talking about, a lot of people are going to be really turned off by that. Okay? If they find out that you're passionate about your subject, that can create some good pathos, where it actually makes them more interesting. If they think you're a nice, swell, do-gooder, humanitarian person who flosses, all these things, in some cases with some audiences, can help to sway them, to help them to respond to you. Now let me tell you the goal, one of the most important key goals of all rhetoric, and that is to keep your audience open and receptive, cooperative. Okay? You're delivering information. You want them to take it in, to understand it, to believe it, and maybe to act on it, depending on what type of purpose you're using. Okay? So anything that makes them back off, close down, doubt you, resist you, those are areas where you need to tweak it, okay, or get bored, where you need to tweak it to make it more interesting, more persuasive, to get them to cooperate, show them why they should be on your side. Okay, that's the goal of rhetoric.